If I were to stab Sonic in the back and rip his soul straight out of his body, I'm pretty confident that I would see something similar to Seaside Hill, cause in addition to being a technically impressive level, it also manages to communicate something that's arguably more important than logically showing the player the game's mechanics, and that's delivering an experience that feels like it's being lived out before your very eyes, an experience that I feel greatly represents Sonic's character and connection with his friends as a whole. It begins with a shot that establishes the characters you're controlling, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Now, if you're playing this for the first time, this setup may look strange to you. 3 characters at once? Insanity! But the game handles this immediate curveball quite well by defaulting you to Sonic, who you're going to be most familiar with in terms of recognizability and gameplay style. The land you're on is in a straight line with 2 short barricades on the left and right to prevent you from accidentally falling off. This setup gives you ample time to realize the amount of speed you're gaining as you move forward, and that, along with the blue speed sign that matches Sonic's color, lets you know exactly what his deal is, going fast. Hitting the spring's your only option here, and that leads you to the fly formation change gate. Stepping through will automatically make Tails the leader, drastically alternating all team members' positions. The devs could have signaled the player to switch to fly formation themselves, but they needed to show you that switching's a mechanic in the first place to avoid confusion. It becomes apparent just by moving around a little bit that the fly formation prioritizes stability and control over speed. The pathway has you going up, giving you your first jumping task, but if you press the jump button while already in midair, something you're likely to do as you platform up, then you'll realize that, hey, the flying formation means you can fly, what do you know? There's even some tall platforms here for you to take quick trips to so that you know what this is useful for. The next path has a power formation gate where Knuckles is made to take the lead. The advantages of this formation isn't obvious at first, which is why a character will comment on how they're spread out, which ends up being useful in collecting rings in a wide formation, as well as having each team member take a different route on loop-de-loops, which nabs you more goodies than if your entire team all took the same route. This is also where the checkpoint's introduced. Smack dab in the middle of the land you land on, can't miss it. To further show the usefulness of the power formation, you encounter some Eggman's robots which Knuckles is more than willing to take on. Pressing the B button will cause him to fling forward with punches, using Sonic and Tails as his boxing gloves. How this is at all practical is beyond me, but it looks sick, so who cares? And just like that, the game's established the basic uses for each formation within a short time span. What's interesting is that despite this opening section being an introduction to these mechanics, there are some cool tricks present for quick learners or veteran players. For example, if you hold down the A button when hitting the spring, it'll cause you to launch up much higher, letting you pass through the rainbow rings that fling you to the next section while you strike a pose. Doing this skips the flying section tutorial, but since new players are very unlikely to hit these rainbow rings on their first playthrough, skipping this section is perfectly fine. If you jump off this ledge to the right, then you'll discover a 1-up for being so curious, alluding to the fact that despite the current linearity of the level so far, that the game will value exploration. Here you encounter 2 signs, power and fly, but unlike the ones from earlier, these ones don't force you into a formation, making this your first case of being asked to switch formations on your own. Not only that, but you get to choose which formation's path to take. If you prefer playing as Knuckles, then head to the left and break the blocks as you scale up. If you prefer playing as Tails, then fly up to the top instead. This game reinvents the idea of split paths by customizing them according to different formations, giving each of them their own distinct flavor. What's even better is that you don't always have to switch to the formation that the game suggests. For example, this left path has a speed sign indicating that you should switch to Sonic before proceeding, but you can by all means play as Tails or Knuckles during this section. And while playing as the unintended formation probably won't feel as good as the intended one on paths like these, the fact that you have the option to encounter some of these paths however you please is pretty great, and can sometimes be even more fun than the intended route. Take here for instance, it suggests that you use Tails to reach the dash ring and subsequently fly over to the balloon, but you can actually reach this dash ring with Sonic and blast over to the balloon without flying if you'd like. This kind of custom gameplay adds a lot of flavor to these levels, also adding on to the replayability. When you spring up, you're just out of range enough to not wake up any of the robots, showing showing you that they have an aggro zone that may have not been as clear from the fights you had earlier. However you overcome these blocks, Sonic will be eager to take the lead, and if you let him, then you'll gain some mad speed down this path and through the tunnel, which you can light speed dash through if you so choose. The finale to this speed marathon is a magnificent loop-de-loop and dash across the ocean as some marine life greets your landing, putting an end to what I'd call the first act of this level. The team-based gameplay it introduced feels great mechanically, but it also excels at immersion. Even if you've never played a Sonic game before, you get the sense that these three characters are incredibly comfortable with one another, fully willing to pull their own weight to support the group. Sonic's formation has him lending his speed to the others, Tails' formation has him carrying everyone up as he flies, Knuckles' formation has him using his friends as boxing gloves, and come on, what better mark of friendship is that? They feel like a well-oiled machine that have an intuitive sense of teamwork with one another, and when something doesn't look obvious, they'll communicate their thoughts aloud, which lets their friends know what's up and you by association. I especially like how at times a character will suggest one of their friends take the lead, showing what confidence they have in them. It's this uplifting nature that Sonic has with his comrades that really sells me on him as a person. He's cocky and that shows in the Rainbow Ring animations, but we can't forget just how optimistic and uplifting he is to those around him, and I really can't think of a better gameplay showcase of his positive attitude than in this game. As for the level itself so far, did you notice that every time there was a speed section that there were tons of white arrows cut out from the grass? You know you've got synergy with the place when the environment itself bends to your powers. This landmass's help icon informs you of the blue tornado, which Sonic can perform by pressing B while in midair. The chaos this attack causes is not to be underestimated and will certainly come in handy later. This cannon is our first example of choosing between three split paths in the form of fly, speed, and power. The fly path shoots you way up to the pillars, where you've got to jump from one to the other and pull off an aerial maneuver, being rewarded with a level up for Tails. These level ups, by the way, are shown to increase each character's particular skill set. Whenever Sonic levels up, his top speed increases and so do the powers of his attacks. For Tails, he'll be allowed to fly further and also receives a power boost. Knuckles just receives a flat power boost overall, becoming a bot-crushing machine. Each character leveling up is useful in its own way, and you'll start to realize just how much of an impact these levels have on each character, encouraging you to explore the stage more to attain even greater heights. If you take the cannon speed route, then you'll be simply shot to the next landmass, where you can chain together some homing attacks and receive a level up for Sonic. If you enter the cannon in power formation, then it will not shoot until you press A, and even when you do, one teammate will shoot out at a time, with the third A press being Knuckles. Interesting, so the cannon shoots automatically with Sonic and Tails' formations, but not Knuckles, implying that his formation is the only one strong enough to control this unruly device so that the team can launch whenever they please and leave whenever they please too. The power route breaks open a block and springs you up to a Knuckles level up, meaning that every character on your team has the potential to level up in this section, and despite intuition, you can receive all three level ups if you so choose. All you've got to do is fly back along the speed platforms and you can take the cannon as much as you like. The ancient ruins up ahead form before your very eyes, allowing the fly formation to scale up to the bobsled, which is a team formation, meaning that everyone is contributing at once. Sonic accelerates the bobsled, Knuckles steers it, and Tails allows it to jump, all together letting you grab goodies on your way to the next section where you can spring up here or break this block and the one after in power formation to spring up that way, letting you make contact with the dash rings. Alternatively, you can touch these in fly formation, as indicated by the sign and column of rings that lead up. Remember this row of curved rings at the beginning of the level meant for Sonic's light speed dash? Here's a version of that, but for Tails, and funny enough, you can still light speed dash them even while they're in the air. Here's where the branching paths can get a bit nutty. Stepping forward, the ancient ruins will collapse before your very eyes, where you can then choose to use the fly formation to reach the higher path, where you're then given another choice of which path to take via remaining in fly formation and going even higher, where you then have the option of flying off to the side and taking a couple dash rings to skip ahead. If you don't take the dash rings, then you're free to speed or power your way through this route. If you don't fly up to said route, out, then you can remain on the original high path by dashing down this hill to a cannon. If you don't even fly to said high path in the first place, then you can drop down for a slew of even more options via this cannon. Firing in power formation lets you spring up for a goodie. Firing in speed formation flings you to the second cannon. Firing in fly formation shoots you to the high up route mentioned earlier. Ignoring the cannon entirely, you can run along the beach and get a good light speed dash in. But wait, there's a fly sign. If you use tails to platform along the pillars that the speed formation bounces off of using the first cannon, then you can find a team blast box, which we'll cover more later. If you enter the second cannon we've alluded to in power formation, then you can scale the platforms and reach this high up ledge that way. Alternatively, you can spring up there via speed formation or simply shoot and land on the ledge itself via fly formation. This entire section of the level has so many splitting paths that I can't help but think that the devs just had an absolute ball designing everything. It's almost like they finished one route and then thought, oh, what if we placed a path up here? And then when they were finished with that, they thought, oh, but what if we put this here? And so on and so forth. It's just so utterly ridiculous how many places you can explore in this one section and how many ways you can explore them via the different team formations. I talked about how I felt this level encapsulated Sonic's personality, and this is a part of it. The freedom to carve one's own path and decide where they want to go. This expression of freedom is dialed up to a 10 with this beautiful shot over the ocean. Just phenomenal. Here's our first good example of robots that Tails excels at defeating via his Thunder Shoot, which launches Sonic and Knuckles at the bots to deal damage. As always, you can instead attack with Sonic's blitzing nature or Knuckles' tenacity. This loop-de-loop has you enter power formation for goodies and to open up the entrance to this tunnel, where if you're skilled enough, you can launch punches towards the obstacles while hitting the dash panels at the same time, preserving your momentum as you run forward. The help symbol informs you of the Fire Dunk, where Knuckles can obliterate enemies by chucking Sonic and Tails like fireballs at his opponents. Whoever you are that pitched this as a move, thank you. It's been locked in my memory for years. You can continue your clobbering spree around the edges of this tower, discovering a key, a 1-up, and nothing. Although the intended way to break these blocks was probably by entering the cannon in power formation and launching team members at them. If you enter this cannon in speed formation, then you'll spring up to the exit, whereas fly formation simply launches you high enough to reach the exit without springs. Can we just talk about this for a moment? The devs did not have to design two different animations for the speed and fly formations here. They could have easily just used one animation for the two of them, but chose not to because they want each formation to feel distinct from one another, even in cutscene form, and that gets some props from me. Exiting the tower leads you to the second bobsled of the level, which has you speeding down the highway, taking tight turns and aiming for balloons as well as ring boxes as you begin to crash through multiple blocks in your way, persevering to the end. This is such a random mechanic to throw into this level, and despite its purpose in-universe making little to no sense, the fun and charm of it all completely bypasses any logic I'd normally throw at it. I just love it too much. This loop-de-loop serves as a breather from all the adrenaline you just experienced, just to have you run up a wall and bash some bots, ideally by launching Sonic right at him, which is cool and all, but now it's time to experience the absolutely gravity-defying final loop-de-loop. Is it just me, or did the loop-de-loop seem to increase in size with each one you encounter throughout the level? It had to have been done on purpose. The final stretch of the level has you dashing through a tunnel, scaling up a wall, and launching towards a balloon, where your Team Blast gauge is filled up, allowing you to unleash what's known as the Sonic Overdrive, a deadly attack that lays waste upon every unfortunate soul that witnesses its greatness. To top it all off, you can fall into this hole for a 1-up and a return trip. This not mentioning that if you're skilled enough, you can take this path as a shortcut to the end, which shines above all in its glory. Thus wrapping up a level that excels at teaching the game's unique formation mechanics and provides you with tons of freedom to explore it however you please, resulting in an experience that I argue embodies everything there is to love about the Blue Blur. Thanks for watching, consider joining this channel's membership, and I'll see you tomorrow for more of the June Zoom. Take care.